Anyway, thanks for your time. Can you tell me about that Pancreas documentary that you're in?
The Pancrase documentary. Yeah, I mean it. Um, well, I mean, basically, it's a retell of like a lot of the uh, newer fans of MMA don't know the kind of the history of the evolution of MMA, because originally it wasn't even MMA; it was no holds barred, right?
Yep, and HB.
Yeah, NHB. MMA is was more of a modern term. I think Peretti, I think John Peretti came up with it. Um, and but before all that, there was the Pancrase movement, and really what Pancrase was a basically it was a I don't know how much information you know about pro wrestling or anything, but back in the day, pro wrestling used to be real and funded on real stuff. And if you watch like the old pro wrestling stuff, it's a little theater, but it's actual real moves.
You see the hooks in them. Yep.
Yeah, and in Japan, you had to learn how to really wrestle because they would have things called shoots. Okay, and so there was at the time there was three levels of a pro wrestler, and this actually came from America. Um, there was a guy who was a worker who was just did fake matches and wasn't really super skilled. Usually was tend to be the workers tended to be the kind of the good looking athletes versus the guys who could really wrestle. And then there was a guy who was a shooter who was a real wrestler, and then the guy who was a hooker, and a hooker was an elite shooter. He was an elite shooter. Anyway, so they had that hierarchy and they brought it to Japan and it was very popular there. And so they learned how to do real matches. And so when anytime anybody would say, "Oh, wrestling's fake," they would say, "Okay, we'll step in the ring," and they put them against a hooker or a shooter, and that person would beat the crap out of the guy, and they go, "That this is fake, right?
Yeah.
Just broke your leg," And so so what happened is in the 90s, a style of pro wrestling called shoot wrestling became popular, and it was and they started doing shoots again. They started doing real matches, and Pancrase was kind of the offshoot of that shoot wrestling style of wrestling, where everything was a shoot, and so that's where it started. And basically what happened is it was hugely popular. I mean, Pancrase. I mean, when I was in Japan, I mean, we were gods. I mean, Pancrase was huge, and then the UFC became extremely popular too, right? And so Pancrase started, wanted to, prove their system was good. So they sent Ken Shamrock to compete in the UFC, and we know the history from there, right? And so basically, what we did is we retold reintroduced people to the original MMA group, because Pancrase is more like MMA than the original UFC. And interesting fact is most of the first champions and stuff from in the UFC came from Pancrase. Guys like me, Ken Shamrock, Frank Shamrock, Boss Rutan, Maurice Smith. Maurice Smith is known for his kickboxing, but he learned his
Yep.
his MMA style stuff from Pancrase. And there's a bunch of other guys, like Josh Burnett and Nate Marquardt and Chris Liddell, guys like that all were very successful in MMA. Started in Pancrase, and anyways, there's been kind of a movement. I don't know if you've noticed lately, but kind of a nostalgia movement towards.
Yep.
I mean, everything in fighting, even things like football and stuff, but definitely fighting. You see a lot more interest in some of these old fights. Like the other day, someone was talking about Willie Pep, right? And Willie Pep was I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a guy literally had 150, 160 fights. Was an amazing defenseman. In fact, he won a round in boxing in the world championship without even throwing one punch.
Yep, that's what I hear.
he made the guy look so bad by making a miss that he actually won the round by not even throwing a punch. And so there's kind of this kind of movement towards this nostalgia stuff. And so Eric Niehuis, you know, he was one of the original guys that worked at the Lions Den Dojo and was a huge fan of the game, and lived it and breathed it. And he's been involved in television and movies and stuff like this for a long time, and he produced he produced several things. But one of the big things he did that was kind of an off the wall thing that was, again, in the nostalgia kind of thing. Was,
Yep.
do you remember the movie Warriors?
What movie? Warriors? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's really bad. It's like it's kind of like the Billy Jack movie of gang fights, right? You know, Billy Jack is a great movie, right? But it's really not. It's a horrible movie, horrible acting, but we love it, right? And of course, Warriors is kind of the same thing. Anyway, so Eric he organized a whole nostalgia trip, taking the original cast from Warriors and taking them through running them through their experience, trying to get back to Coney Island. And he did it in real time, and it was amazing. They literally had 20 or 30,000 people show up to follow these guys around to doing their thing, So it was really kind of a cool deal. And so he approached me about the idea of doing with the Pancrase, and I love Pancrase. All my time in fighting, that was my most fun. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that I was with my friend, my buddies, my teammates, my brothers from Lions Den, and we would go down to Japan. We had a great time, and we got to live a life of a rock star, briefly, and it was a lot of fun. And the fighting itself, really, the fighting itself actually gave us a platform. See, the problem with NHB at the time was it was NHB. There weren't rules. There were no time limits. There was nothing, and so it was a very difficult format in which to train by. So how do you train by that, right? Nobody really had, no one really had a set idea how to do it. Now the Gracies had probably the best idea because they did their Vale Tudo style stuff in
Brazil.
Brazil, which even that had rules and time limits and stuff, but they a little bit closer to the game. But Pancrase really gave a platform because the Pancrase matches originally were 30 minutes long, and then they changed that. They started putting like the younger guys at 10 minutes, and then they did 15 minutes and 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes for the advanced fighters and the championship bouts. But so here you're having to wrestle for 30 minutes, right? And it's basically nonstop. It's a little, it gets slow on the ground, but if it gets slow, you stand back up. So what it really did is it gave a platform for guys like me and Ken and all the other guys in order to train and compete. That would prep us for, the no holds barred much better. And it really gave us a kind of an edge in the game because of that.
Yep. And
so anyway, I thought people would be interested in it. So we, I put my producer hat back on and started working with Eric on it. And I'll tell you, Eric really did an amazing job. His energy for this and his perseverance for this. And there were times when there was there was just an overwhelming naysay from a bunch of jackasses, that I finally got to the point where I'm like, I got 50 million things going on in my life. I really don't need to be dealing with this bullshit,
Yeah.
And Eric kept on me, and I'm glad he did because I think this is an important piece of history for people to understand the game, and the evolution of stuff. It just turned out to be a lot better. I can't wait to see. I've seen a lot of the outtakes stuff. I can't wait to see the whole deal as soon as we get it edited down.
Do you know when it's going to be finished and where could somebody watch it?
Okay, well, when it's going to be finished is interesting because Eric says it's going to be done in January, but of course our main editor says it's not going to be done until April. So you tell me, do you take the editor's proof on it or do you take the executive producers? I would imagine I would imagine sometime in January or February it'll actually be available on Netflix.
Oh, nice! That's awesome. Can you briefly discuss that you're bringing out Pancrase fights to America?
Yeah. So that sparked interest. Basically, when people found out that we were doing this, they were like, originally we weren't really thinking about doing that. Originally what we were thinking about was just making a cool documentary.
Yep.
But I'll be honest. maybe the nostalgia got to me or something. I thought it was, you know, kind of a cool idea. And people just like, oh my gosh. And they misinterpreted what we were saying. We were saying about the documentary and this, and people were like, oh my gosh, Pancrase is coming to the United States. And I'm like, no, it's not. But, you know, so it was a little bit, you know, and then Eric's like, why not? You know, why not? And so, you know, again, Eric is very connected in the movie and television business and stuff like that. And basically, we have, you know, we got a lot of interest. You know, we got, to be honest, we have a lot of interest worldwide. We have, we'll be on all, you know, we'll be on, you know, 6 continents, and you know, and we'll be on 9 different stations in the world. And you know, it's kind of exciting. We'll have our own station here. You know,
Nice.
we can do direct, you know, direct shows now in here from. You know, just the technology today is great. They got this 4K stuff, which is amazing quality, but you can download it to your phone, right? So you can be looking at your phone and having real high def viewership, right? And so it's pretty awesome. And so it basically kind of grew from that. You know, what it was, Eric was like, hey man, you know, we would love for you to do this. And I'll be honest, I'm a busy man. I've got a ton of stuff going on. And I was like, I don't know. You know, I said, I'll help, but I really can't be involved like you want me to be. And I'll be honest, I just got struck with the bug. The amount of people that said, we would love to see Pancrase come, you know, do some more stuff. And I push for other stuff. I'm like, you know, so we're actually going to have more stuff than just the Pancrase. On our channel, we're gonna have you know, MMA,
Nice.
like classic MMA, like, well, I say classic MMA, I guess I'm kind of classic MMA,
90s.
but you know, but MMA rules, and we're gonna do some kickboxing and boxing, and you know, and you know, we're all gonna, you know, we're gonna call it Pancrase hybrid boxing, you know, just to have, you know, fun. It's gonna be on our Pancrase banner, because the interesting thing about Pancrase, which a lot of people don't know, or maybe they do know, but don't know outside of Japan. How about this? Is that Pancrase sent a lot of their athletes to fight different fighters. Like Ken Shamrock actually had a kickboxing fight.
I saw that one.
Yeah, didn't turn out real good for him, but you know, it was you know, he went and did it. Aji, you know, or Nagasawa Ryushi, he actually had a kickboxing fight against one of the Klitschko brothers. But when the Klitschkos were actually kickboxers before they were boxers.
Yeah, I saw that fight. That's an awesome.
Yeah, that was an awesome fight, actually. You know. And so they also had us enter, like they had me enter the World Open Karate Championship, you know, which I won, and you know, so they had these guys fight, you know, in these different things. So it kind of fits in the mood for the Pancrase. You know, Pancrase, they refer to themselves as the strong style, right? And which is an old pro wrestling term, meaning, you know, these guys are hardcore. And you know, and so really we thought, you know, we could create an entertainment value for people, one-stop shop. You know, we get in, you know, we're in the process of working a deal, hopefully with the WBC, if not them, the IBF, and be able to promote their championship fights down the road. Because there's a lot of championship fights out there that aren't going to make pay-per-view.
Yep.
And so we have this opportunity to be able to, you know, give them an outlet for it. Our goals are to, you know, to have about 500,000 subscribers to what we're doing. And that leaves it really open. And to be honest, this is one of the reasons I got back into this is that I have a lot of athletes who have a hard time getting going with their careers, even with the influence that I have in MMA. It's still hard to get these guys into the big shows and doing some of the stuff that they're doing. And so this is another outlet for these guys to have to be able to fight, get experience, make some money, and get their name out there. And you know, in the future, you know, we really be hoping to work hand in hand with the UFC and Bellator and places like that, because you know, these guys, you know, I mean, the UFC is definitely an 800-pound gorilla. Bellator is the 400-pound gorilla, maybe, and climbing, and even one who is, you know, again, we don't really know a lot about one, because the problem with America is that we think the entire world rotates around America.
Yep.
And they don't know. But you know, believe it or not, you know, one had a $6 billion evaluation, which is like 1.5 billion more than the UFC. And that's huge. I mean, that's huge, right? And so so the opportunity to get out there with these different athletes, the one, to UFC, to Bellator, to these other organizations, and let us grow with them, is out there. And really, what it's about is letting our athletes grow, and have some. And I just know how hard it is. I know these guys that bust their ass, guys and girls now, bust their ass really hard, and they just don't go very far. And it's not because they don't have talent. It's just that there's a limited space for these guys. And then, there is a little bit of a kind of a click feel to the UFC. Certain trainers get preference over others, and that goes for every one of the groups. So it's a little harder to do that. Saying, I kind of bowed out of the fight game a few years back. I became a doctor, and doing doctor work and things like that just got harder for me to be as active as I wanted to be in it. And so this is going to be an opportunity to have all kinds of badass stuff. And of course, old school Pancrase, there's a really big push, now lately in America about catch wrestling. You hear all these guys talking about catch wrestling this, catch wrestling that, and it cracks me up because they're all, I am probably the only official catch wrestling certified coach that I actually know, because Pancrase certified certain fighters to be Pancrase coaches in Pancrase hybrid wrestling. And so I'm actually a certified Pancrase hybrid wrestling coach.
Was that on the Fujiwara? Which guy was it under?
It was under Funaki's.
Yeah, Funaki, yeah.
The Pancrase, which, his lineage is Fujiwara and Carl Gotch.
Nice.
And so, so in fact, Carl Gotch came up with the name Pancrase.
Oh, well.
Yeah, he was a big fan of it. He, and of course he trained Suzuki and Funaki personally, and it was good. So I think it's kind of a cool deal. I think it's, I think fighting sports now have a really great opportunity to really push ahead into more mainstream stuff. Everybody wants to shake the hand of the champ. It doesn't matter what party I go to. I mean, I've done a ton of accomplishments outside of fighting, but I'll be introduced like I'll be at a medical thing, right? And they'll be like, yeah, hey, this is Guy Mezger, this is Dr. Guy Mezger, and he used to be UFC tournament champion back in the day. Not the fact that I've worked hand in hand in some of the some of the really high profile studies on new plasma and things and certain peptide deals, that never gets mentioned. But the fact is, I used to be the UFC champ, tournament champ, that gets mentioned. So it's kind of funny that there's an all-time high, and I believe that we, with the sports, with team sports being the way they are right now, like we just had the World Series, right?
Yep.
And I'm kind of a Dodgers fan, anyways, but I didn't really give a shit, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't into it. Basketball, the same thing. You know what I mean? Hockey, the Dallas Stars made it to the Stanley Cup. I should have been excited about that, right?
Yep.
I wasn't following it. But what we are still following a great deal is the fight game. And I think that, and everybody, like I said, everybody wants to shake the hand of the champ, right? But it's still not considered mainstream. I don't care what anybody says. You know what I mean? They go, well, boxing. Boxing is the dirty pleasure of the fight game. It's like you should feel bad about about watching you enjoying. You should feel bad about enjoying watching somebody get beat up. But we like it. In fact, we love it. You know what I mean? And in fact, there's not a place I go once they find out who I am, they want to shake my hand, right? But we're still not into the same sponsorships, money wise, and the same opportunities these athletes have that play football. Even the most obscure athletes and professional football players, they have their own shoe lines, right? Making millions of dollars. And I really would love to see our athletes do that. We have much more charismatic athletes. Our athletes, I'll tell you something about our athletes. Our athletes are real. That's one thing I will safely say. They're real. And what we do, and I tell people all the time, the difference between and this is probably what makes people a little bit uncomfortable, is you don't play fight sports.
Yep.
You play football, and you play basketball, and you play baseball, but you do not play wrestling. You do not play MMA. You do not play boxing, right? And that probably makes people a little bit uncomfortable. But it's also is also part of the sell. And so I would, with our opportunity to mainstream this out there, to get it out, get this stuff out to people on a regular basis and stuff, and see what phenomenal athletes they are, and the potential for really, sponsorships and stuff like that. I would love to see us really grow, and I would love to be a part of that, because I won't necessarily get to enjoy that aspect, because my days as a fighter are long gone. But I'm a firm believer in giving a hand to the man behind you, because somebody gave me a hand, somebody gave you a hand. You may not realize it, but your success is because somebody took time to help you be successful. And so that's kind of where I'm at in my life right now. Anyways, at 52, people go, you're middle aged. I doubt I'm living to 100. I'm pretty much on the downslope of shit. And so the thing is that I want to do is I want to be able to help other people out. I want to be able to help these athletes out, because I really feel like they dedicate themselves so much for such a short amount of time to make this money, and it's a shame. It's just a shame, and I would like to see that dynamic change a little bit, and that's really kind of what I'm doing.
Thank you so much. And when is it going to start? Like, time date when the fight's going to.
Okay, so I'm going to say January, but you can't press me on that. The reason being is our target date is end of January. The issue that we have is dealing with the various states, and COVID-19 has California and a few of the places that we're looking to do it at, and we're doing it. A lot of this we're doing that because of just the nature where we're easier for us to do the filming, and basically easier for us to get the athletes there. So we're looking at New Hampshire, because Doug Cartelli, who is our vice president, is a very successful boxing promoter in the Northeast, and he is a huge MMA fan. In fact, he has a Lion's Den in Connecticut, and he has a $2 million training facility in Connecticut. It's beautiful, and a real fan, and he's this unbelievably successful businessman, which is nice because it brings a lot of business accolades to the game, and it also brings somebody who knows how to put do shows and stuff like that. Because in order for us to do this, and here's the crazy thing: because of COVID, because of that, we're not going to be able to do our classic shows where we have audiences and stuff like that. And those of you guys that are old Pancrase fans, it'll actually seem like Japan anyways, because they don't make any fan. They every now and then when you throw a high kick, you hear the collective crowd go ooh, and then like when they stand us up, there's always the you hear that. But other than that, it's dead silent. And then every now and then you'll have one rowdy kid go Mezger, murdering my name or murdering my opponent's name, or probably getting it a little bit straighter. But other than that, you don't really. I think that the no audience will be just like fighting in Japan, anyways. Because because they don't make a lot of noise there. So but we're gonna have to. What we're gonna do is we're gonna be producing fights without the revenue source of having an audience. So it's been so what we have to do is a lot of what we're doing is making sure that we can get done what we want. 'Cause we really want to launch this thing right, meaning like we want to have great content for people, and and the only way to build, I feel that the only way to build a strong base is by producing great shows and consistent shows, and just make the best product that we can, and that's our intention.
Right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Long-time fan, and good luck with everything.
Well, I appreciate it, man. You guys have a good one. I thank you for your time. And guys, like I said, stay tuned. You can go to the website, the Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling USA. .USA, sorry. Yeah. And follow what we're doing. Like I said, we'll update you about the Pancrase documentary release, and then upcoming, because we're actually going to be doing some fun stuff too. We're gonna create once we get kind of the COVID thing a little bit better under control, some of the understanding. We want to have tryouts, like old school Pancrase tryouts.
Nice.
Like they have. I think that would be a lot of fun for athletes. I think it'd be a great way for people to test themselves, come out and give it a shot. I thought it'd be a lot of fun to be able to do that. And the whole idea of it brought out a lot of the old school guys like Funaki and yeah, and he's like, really, and he's excited about the idea prospect of that, and Vernon White and Jody Malenko, who was one of the original guys who taught, who trained Ken Shamrock and all those guys who originally go over there. He's one of the original shooters. He's one of the original. He's actually a hooker. He's an elite shooter. He's one of the very few guys like that still around, right? From the Call Guards. He's like the generation after Call Gotch. And so it's kind of cool. So like I said, I want people to stay tuned. We really, I guess I'm not surprised, but I am more grateful for the support that we've had from people, and I just hope it stays up, and stay tuned for the Pancrase Fight channel.
Awesome. Thanks again.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.